Now we'll go into the Court of Appeals, Place 7 race. Who wants to be first? Raise your hand. Whoever raises it last is first. All right, Larry Doss, you get to go first.
Good morning, folks. My name is Larry Doss. I currently serve as the justice on your 7th Court of Appeals. That's a 46-county area that includes Potter County, Randall County, all the way up to the Oklahoma border on the east and the north, all the way to the New Mexico border to the west, and all the way south of Lubbock County to your south. It's an area of about 62,000 square miles. It would be the 22nd largest state in the country if we broke off the 7th Court of Appeals and formed a different state. It's that big. I think it's only appropriate that we are meeting today in a convention in a church. This is from where our constitutional history began. A place where we could meet in a group and we could agree to disagree and we could have vigorous debates among ourselves, but when we voted and when we took a position, it was of one voice and of one accord. It reminds me of when Paul wrote to the church at Corinth, 1 Corinthians 1:10, where he said, you're supposed to be a good unity. You're not supposed to be of division. We live in a world right now of great division, not only in our world, but in our own party. We have debates amongst ourselves right now on whether black lives matter, whether blue lives matter, whether all lives matter, whether wearing a mask matters, whether the economy matters. And it's okay to have those discussions and disputes. It's okay to have that disagreement. But when we as members of the Republican Party have that debate outside of our own circles, when we tear each other down, when we break off our unities and our ties and our friendships because we disagree on things that are political, do you know who wins that race? The Democrats do. For the next couple of minutes, I want us to think about the importance of, as we come into election season again, both in July, the next couple of weeks for early voting, and coming into November, that it's important to remember the unity of what we stand for as Republicans. And Kerry and I didn't discuss this speech among ourselves, but I want to build on what he says, because while defining ourselves as Republicans is very important, unity as Republicans is equally as important, because if we're divided, we fall. Now, those of the rest of us are in a political race within our Republican Party, so I'll speak a few minutes on that because that's what I was asked to do. On the Republican side of this ticket, I've been happy to serve as a member of this Court of Appeals when I was appointed by Governor Abbott in November. Certainly the name Governor Abbott brings its own identification of folks who agree and disagree with what's going on in the economy right now, and I certainly understand that. I certainly have my own personal beliefs and disagreements about what's going on in our government right now. But it's not simply about that. I'm also happy to say that I can stand with the support of folks like our Ag Commissioner, Sid Miller, and other leaders throughout the Republican Party who have vetted the candidates in this race and who know what I stand for and who I believe in. I'm also happy to say that I stand with the unity of business leaders throughout our community and throughout our state who understand what I believe for. They understand my record of representing small businesses before I went onto the court. They've had an opportunity to investigate us and interview us, and I'm happy to say that I have virtual universal endorsement among folks who are supporting small businesses in our community. And I'm happy to say that among lawyers, even those people who are paid sometimes to disagree, that I've got near universal support among that as well. There's a recent judicial poll among attorneys in this area who preferred my continued service by a margin of about 3-1. Those are what I set out as saying I believe when we operate together, when we serve together as a party, and when we serve together with experienced people, we come to one result on who the most experienced person is for the job. But really the question is, does that matter to you? Your decision on election day will decide whether that matters to you or not. I am happy to be a Republican. I am happy to have fought in the trenches with many of you as Republicans. I'm happy to have sided with Rush Limbaugh during the time that he was so angry with the Republican Party. He said, let's go vote Democrats one time just to shake things up. You may remember that from 2008. I was one of the people who went along with Rush to do that. It was not a good time for the Republican Party. It was not a good time for party unity. We learned our lesson in the form of Barack Obama getting elected during that time period. Let's not make the same mistake again. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Doss. Now, Stephen Denny.
It was completely out of character for me not to want to go first, but good grief, Kerry Haney just knocked that out of the park. I had no idea he was going to come up here and have that greatly prepared speech. That was awesome. And definitely in the spirit of a county convention. That's what we want. We need to be cheerleaders for our cause. We need to be advocates for what we believe in every relationship we have and in every person we run into. Each morning, part of my prayer is that I represent my faith to a way that people see the way I live and know who I live for. And that if I must open my mouth, that I try and use that to glorification of God. And so I would ask you to use that in your politics as well. I would ask you to live your life in a way that everyone goes, wow, that person is a conservative. That's what it means. And that if you must open your mouth, whether it be on the internet or in person, do it in a way that glorifies that party and not yourself and doesn't bring the rest of us down. And that's difficult to do when you're arguing with idiots on the internet. So, I know that you guys aren't really here to listen to the Court of Appeals, and so I'll try and keep it as brief as a lawyer with a microphone can. But, you know, the bottom line is this. My dad said I could wreck an anvil with a marshmallow, and it appears that's what's happened to this election. Back on March 3rd, I was sitting there watching the results, and a grass fire went out. I threw my cell phone to my wife and said, I got to go help put out this grass fire. And when I came back, it appeared that I had won the election by 297 votes. Over 91,000 people came out to vote in that election, and it appeared that I had won. But we started discovering that there was a problem. 2 counties had completely left our election off of the ballot, and 1,214 people didn't get to vote in this particular race. As it turns out, the case law says that if that happens, the judge can't determine what the result of the election was, and so a district judge and then the Court of Appeals ordered that we completely redo the election that 91,000 of you came out to vote in last time. And I'm just terrified that we're going to decide this one with 5 or 10,000 people, and that just kills me. So that's where I need your help. That's why I say you've got to live your life. You've got to be an example. I need your help. Potter County came out resoundingly for me, and I'm proud of that, and I thank you now for that. But I need you to come out and vote again. I'm not up here to tell you what politicians think about me as to why you should vote for me. I'm here to tell you who I am, what I stand for. I'm a volunteer firefighter. I've been fighting fires every other day this week out in Valle de Oro. So when I cough, I promise you I don't have the virus. It's because I've got soot in my lungs from fighting those fires. So don't shy away. I'm a Christian. I was saved and baptized at Trinity Baptist Church just right up the street when I was 14 years old. I'm currently a member at Paramount Baptist Church. And although judicial candidates can't tell you what they stand for or don't stand for, feel free to read into that whatever you want. I serve on the safety team there at Paramount Baptist Church, which means I stand in the hallway ready to do violence on anyone who intends my congregation ill. I'm an NRA lifetime member. You can read into that whatever you want. I'm a firearms instructor. I'm a father. I've got a 17-year-old son who's working on his Eagle Scout, and it makes me proud to see the scouting program still going strong despite the negative that we've all seen in the news. That Eagle Scout should give you an indication of what I stand for. This isn't new. Me being a conservative isn't new. I developed these values whenever I was very young, and I disagreed with a lot of the people that I came in contact with, high school and college, and I definitely disagree with the majority of lawyers I run into, because it turns out there's not very many conservative lawyers around. I will speak to one. I keep hearing about this poll of the 3-to-1 that lawyers voted to endorse my opponent. I'll tell you, the numbers were there was about 90 that voted for him and 30 that voted for me, and that's out of the entire district. And there's about 30 lawyers that work for his firm. So you can do the math on that. I'll end with this. I'll tell you, one of the most important things, I think, if you're choosing a candidate to represent you in the Republican primary in November, I think you should choose a candidate who has never voted as a Democrat. Their policies, their things that they allegedly stand for are repulsive to me, and I don't care who tells me it's a good idea to go do it. I have never and never will vote in the Democrat primary.
Thank you, Steve Denny.